The head of a U.S. congressional committee, Mike Gallagher, has called on President Joe Biden to broaden forthcoming restrictions on investments in China to include stocks and bonds. Gallagher argues that limiting the restrictions to direct investments from private equity and venture capital groups would not sufficiently address the security threat posed by Beijing. The Financial Times reported that, in 3 letters sent to President Biden, Gallagher emphasized the need for a new executive order from the White House to cover U.S. participation in Chinese public markets, as these represent a significant portion of U.S. capital flows to China. He warned that exempting public market investments from the restrictions would only partially address the national security threat. Gallagher also highlighted that a considerable portion of the estimated $1.3 billion in U.S. investment in China supports the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP's, human rights abuses, as well as entities linked to the People's Liberation Army. The upcoming executive order, expected from President Biden next week, aims to restrict the flow of U.S. capital to groups with connections to China's military. It follows previous efforts to limit Chinese access to U.S. technology in critical sectors, such as semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing. Gallagher warned of the risks of American capital continuing to flow to Chinese military companies, stating that it could endanger U.S. military service members and contribute to human rights abuses sanctioned by the CCP. He called on Wall Street to recognize the potential dangers and emphasized that Americans want to avoid being served such a dangerous cocktail. The forthcoming executive order is part of the Biden administration's efforts to update export controls, announced last October. The delay in implementing the new restrictions has raised concerns among some allies, including Japan, which has been urged to align its measures with Washington. The move comes as the committee accuses top asset management firm BlackRock and index provider MSCI of facilitating investments into blacklisted Chinese companies,